Evening, I'd like to call the Muhlenberg Township Board of Commissioners meeting for Monday, August 23rd, 2023. The order, we are happy tonight to welcome Boy Scout Troop 155, who is going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you go all, please rise and stand up for the memorial.
God salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You all please remain standing for a memorial moment for Carol Schroyer, who passed away on August 5th. Carol is the mother of Police Sergeant Andrew Schroyer. Thank you. Thank you.
If you want to.
Marcy, getting for the minutes, there was an executive session held tonight to discuss various personnel and litigation potential matters. So for public presentation, just we have some updates for our last meeting from July 9th and some of the actions the township has been working on, but in order to get our stenographer and things moving, we'll get through the conditional use approval for opportunity behavior health first. So I'm going to turn it over to our solicitor, Kelsey Frankowski, who is going to hold the conditional use hearing.
Thank you, Commissioner. This is actually last month's meeting was the time and place advertised for the conditional use hearing of Robert Carvajal of Opportunity Behavioral Health concerning property located at 2800 River Road in Muhlenberg Township, requesting conditional use to use the property as a group home under section 355(18)(c) subsection 2 of the Township zoning ordinance. The hearing was supposed to be held last month, but was continued on that date because someone from the applicant's side was unable to attend. So this is the time and place for that hearing tonight. So at this time, I would ask if there is a representative of the applicant here tonight. You can come forward. And are you represented by counsel tonight, or are you represented? Okay, and can you state your name for the record, please?
Robert Carvajal.
Can you spell it for the court?
Carvajal. Robert.
Just to go through for the public's knowledge, a little bit of the procedure that is going to happen tonight. The applicant is going to get to present his presentation in the form of evidence and testimony. The board is going to have an opportunity to also ask questions of the applicant based on his presentation. Members of the public will have an opportunity to voice their opinion and give public comments on the application. And the hearing is being recorded by a court reporter. So anyone that is speaking, I would just ask that you speak slowly and clearly so that the court reporter can take down everything you're saying. I'm going to quickly address how members of the public can participate. I already mentioned that members of the public will have the ability to make public comment to state their opinion on the application. However, if anyone from the public believes that they have a direct, substantial, and immediate interest in the case, they will have the ability to potentially join as a party to this proceeding. And by gaining party status and becoming a party, they will have rights that the general public does not. They're going to have the ability to ask the applicant questions, to present their own testimony and evidence if they so wish. And they will also have appellate rights if they disagree with whatever decision the board comes to tonight. So I'm going to start by asking, does anyone from the public feel as though they want to be joined as a party to this matter? Do you want to come forward? So.
Yes, my name is Fred, and my wife and I, Janice, live at 2600 River Road. So we're just separated from Mr. Carvajal and his property by some wooded land owned by the city of Red. So, I don't have any opposition. I'm not here to oppose his application, but I did come with maybe a couple of questions depending on what the commissioners end up asking. So I'm just reserving my right to ask a question, but I believe being right down the street, being neighbors, I probably have the right to ask a question or two on behalf of myself and Dennis.
Yeah, Mr. Hatt, I would agree. I would say that your proximity to the applicant's property would give you party status if you want that.
Okay, thank you. Fred Hatt, H-A-T-T.
I remember. All right, so let the record reflect that there is one public party to this application at this point in time, Mr. Hatt. Another administrative matter is for the township to introduce some exhibits for the record. The township has 6 exhibits and they were already submitted to the court reporter. The board exhibit 1 is a letter dated March 22nd, 2023, and a conditional use application that was submitted to the township by the applicant. Board exhibit 2 is going to be the application notice. Board exhibit 3 will be the proof of publication and notice and affidavit of publication. Board exhibit 4 will be the affidavit of posting of the notice. Board exhibit 5 will be the affidavit of mailing of the notice to affected property owners. And board exhibit 6, which is of record, will be the township's zoning ordinance. Mr. Hatt, or Mr. Carbajal, do you have any objections to those exhibits being entered?
No objection.
Thank you. So those exhibits are now entered of record. And at this point, I'm going to turn the proceeding over to the applicant to present his case.
Thank you, thank you. What we asking the township and the board is to allow us to, a conditional use to use this property as a residential property, beautiful property, as a group home. But the word group home doesn't apply here because we're not going to have a group of people. If 2 people is a group, that's the most we're going to have ever in that place. And we want to use it as a group home because the state, we work for the state, servicing people with autism and intellectual disabilities. And what we do is we help those people to be as independent as possible by providing them the opportunity to live in the community. In this community, they are from this community. They don't come from outside. They are from the community, individuals with disabilities. And we teach them how to live everyday life, how to do, we help them with doing their laundry, we help them with going out to Walmart or to Sam's Club or to the supermarket to buy clothes, to buy food, preparing food at their home, being safe at their home if they need medical appointments, making sure that they're safe, making sure that also the community is safe. I want to make it clear to our neighbors, and you see the property, what it looks like right now, but that's how I have a few property, that's how I keep it. I want people to live the way I live, and I live really well. So anything I can do to do that, I will do. There's never going to be, I'm known by in the township, there's never going to be any noise or problem. There's never going to be any issue regarding the police having to respond to us because we are under the license of the state. And the last thing we would like is to lose our license, So there's never, and I say never because I'm personally involved in this, that's why I'm here today. There will be 2 individuals living in that home. We're not looking to make this home a permanent group home. We're looking for permission, and when we cannot run it anymore, we want the township to take it up and make it a residence again. We're not looking to change the home, the structure. We're not looking to build another bathroom or another kitchen or make 2 other apartments or bring people from outside. These are people from our community. I just want to make sure you understand that. But they cannot live in 100% independently. So they need somebody to be with them, and sometimes it's 24 hours. So there's always going to be somebody that will be available to those people 24 hours, 7 days a week. If there's an emergency, we will be there to make sure that the ambulance have to come in for whatever reason, medical, they go to their appointment. No, and we are not here to create any any conflict with our neighbors or any problem for the community. I live in the community, I'm invested in the community, I'm not planning to leave my community, I live around the corner from there. So, so we asking you guys to consider this, and we have been in touch with the township, they know more or less what we're planning to do and how we want to do this, and we will be following all the rules, regulations, you know, all permits, anything that we need. We will definitely, we already started applying and making sure that the township, you know, inspector go by and make sure that we're doing it right. Updating the fire alarm, making sure that it's, you know, it's a full. It's a beautiful property, and we picked it for that reason, and we also picked it in that area because there's not a lot of people. And you know, not that we don't want people with disability to live quite close to where we live, but some people with autism, I don't know if you guys are aware or have a lot of knowledge of people with autism. Somebody with autism can have a certain ritualistic behavior, hand flapping or looking differently than we are accustomed to. You know, but these are not dangerous people. We do not deal with abortion. We don't deal with homosexuality. We don't deal with sex offenders. We only deal with individuals with disability, intellectual disability, what used to be called MR, mental retardation. You know, and these are adult individuals. They don't have families anymore. Many of them, they don't have families. We're all getting older, and we have kids, and sometimes our kids are born with certain disabilities, right? We get older, and they don't have anybody else. They only have us. And our program is very, very unique. We work with adults only. We don't work with children, so there will not be anything related to children in there. So there's not in any case anyway. All our staff are supervised. They are criminal records are criminal background checks are wrong. You know, they are trained. They are supervised bi-weekly and daily and trained, and we on top of what we do. So we're just asking, you know, that if you have any questions or anything that you may need to know more about this, we will definitely get it to you. But my last thing to say that we definitely looking forward. We have two individuals that have been asking for like 2 years now. Can you get a home somewhere so we can have these two females live together? There will be two females sharing this home. And now it's not going to be 3, it's not going to be 4, it's not going to be 5. And it's always going to be a supervisor, there's always going to be a director, there's always going to be a staff available to this individual 24/7. But if you have any questions or anything else you want to know about how we run the program or what we do, we have panel, we have more information that we can provide you too.
Thank you, Charles.
So at this point, if the board has any questions, you can feel free to ask the applicant this question.
I'll ask my colleagues, go ahead and start.
Mr. Carl, I read the description of the program just for my own self and the public. Only 2 people will be residing there. The administration does not sleep there. Only 2 people will reside.
If a 3-bedroom home, you cannot have, you know, more than, if a 2-bedroom home, and the one is the second, because we need to provide privacy to this individual, right? Every individual have their own room. So the 3rd bedroom will be allowed or allocated for staff. If the staff have to be over, they have a room also too. But it's not a overnight sleeping staff. It's a awake staff, you know. You have to be awake and working.
So the staff is they're working their normal 8 hours.
Exactly, 3 staff
But
coming
they're
in.
not going to be sleeping there.
Exactly. They don't live there. The staff don't live there. They come in, and we have sufficient parking there. We have sufficient room, you know, set back on the road and everything.
Okay, the house is
zone residential, that's not gonna change. It's always gonna be zone residential.
Exactly. We're not looking to change that.
And you're not having people there that have any violations with the law, no criminals. These are people with deficiencies, mental issues, no criminal.
No, absolutely not. But let me say this, sometimes you get somebody with an intellectual disability, you know? An intellectual disability is something that we use to call mental retardation, you know, somebody who's, and we don't use that because it's demeaning to the individual, so we call in an intellectual disability, because many of these individuals are, their IQ on one side might be higher than all of us together. And I have individuals like that with autism, if they can count to infinity and they don't need to look at a book, or some people that can play the piano and have never read a book because they don't know how to read.
Thank you, I understand that, but for basically, no criminal people.
No, absolutely not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Lurch.
I just need one more clarification, please, just on the administrative staff. So there will be 3 8-hour shifts.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so there will always be some administrative staff in the house. They're just not sleeping.
Yes.
So they're working a midnight shift.
Exactly. Ain't there or available. That we always want to say that because sometimes with that, after the pandemic, it has been really difficult to get individuals to work. You know, nobody wants to work anymore. And I say that all the time. It doesn't matter what you want, what you pay them. So sometimes you might have the same staff work 12 hours, 2 days.
Okay.
Because you know, we have to be careful with overtime because the state do not pay us more than what they want to pay us. It's indicated and you have to accept it. And also, if the state decided they don't want to pay, they're not going to pay, they don't pay us. So we have to do this pro bono. So, and we've been doing this for 14 years almost right now too.
Well, thank you. I think it's fantastic service. I just wanted to be very clear about who is in the house 24/7. In regards to the 2 females, if at some point then something happens that one doesn't need to be there any longer, are you looking then to rotate
Yes,
the people who would be living in the house?
yes, to bring somebody else. What is the services are under, it's not Medicaid, Medicare. They call it a waiver, which is a state program that allows certain group of people to qualify for these services, and they are. Once they qualify to be in, the only way to get out is if they move out of the state or they die, or they say, I don't want to participate anymore, which is really unlikely, you know, because they do get almost everything that you can think of, help in everyday life things. So if somebody don't want to live there anymore, they want to move, but they have choice, you know, 3 things that we need to do is choice, independence, and opportunities. That's the values of the citizens, right? We have to follow that by the teeth, and we have policies that we have to abide by. And they do come in every year in quarterly, and they review us. This is not something that we're doing on our own, and somebody's going to come in 2 years to see if somebody's alive or somebody's living an everyday life that we follow a life that you and I will be living, you know. So if somebody moved out, what we will do now, the state knows that we have an opening for another person. And what we do, we always look for somebody who's compatible with the other person, because we, you know, people with intellectual disability can be really difficult. And if they don't get along, or there's something going on, we will have a bigger problem than, you know. So we may only keep somebody, maybe one person. We may just keep one person, until a day will come that we find somebody that's compatible with that person, that they can share a life together, and we just guide them through.
Sure, okay. So the residents can rotate, but it's not a quick rotation. It's not every other month there's somebody new moving in the house.
If they come in, they can be there for life. Wherever they go, they're there for life if they choose to.
Do we, as a township, would we receive copies of the inspections?
We would conduct the inspections
We would conduct the inspection.
as far as for occupancy of that space that meets the use that they're purposing. We've met multiple times on the property already, going over the minimum life safety that's going to be required for this occupancy.
Thank you. I have no.
Commissioner Clement?
No questions.
Just a question for the residents that will be staying there, two females. How do you ensure their protection? I know it's a busy road, River Road, and the river is right behind the property. Are they confined to the house? Is there an alarm that goes off if they exit a door? Again, I'm looking at their residents' protection.
But we are responsible not for only the safety of the people that we're taking care of, we are responsible for the community. So that's why our program is specific for people with intellectual disabilities. These are not violent people, these are not sex offenders, these are not, just many other people with intellectual disability, especially with autism. They might elope, they might leave their home. But that's why there's always somebody there, and there's always a 24-hour phone that they can get me, they can get our director, they can get the supervisor. Somebody will be there. Not that it will not happen. If they want to, but if they want to leave, they can leave. We cannot seclude or restrict. We cannot make any restriction to the people, freedom, right, or movement. What we can do is work with them because everything we do is based on positive behavior support. We have to make sure that we work with them, without an individual, and that they comfortable. If they decide that they want to leave their home, we will take them wherever they need to go. And if there's nobody available, we by law have to stay with them until the state. And I'm talking about the state, I'm talking about 67 counties together looking for one individual. You haven't seen so many people together looking, when we're supporting somebody, looking to make sure that this person have a place to go. The person is not going to be homeless, the person is not going to be walking around because the person is under the care of the state.
So you feel comfortable that if one of these residents decides they want to walk the property and they get close to the river, whoever is staying there supervising them would ensure their safety?
Absolutely, yes. It's our responsibility to make sure that first that they are safe, that there's no more abuse, neglect, or nobody's exploiting them, or taking their money, borrowing their money, using their clothes, nothing. I mean, I'm also state investigator myself, and we have, every agency have to have at least 2 or 3 investigators, and we're supposed to investigate any incidents or possible abuse or neglect. Like almost like children and youth, when you think about it, they almost like, I don't like to call them children, but these are adult children, and you have to respect them as adults, but treat them with the same dignity and respect that you treat other adults, you know?
Thank you, Mr. Carvajal. My only comments are just for the general public and reason for this proceeding is that everything that was said tonight would violate what we're going to pass, most likely as conditional use of township, take the appropriate action. If they went to 5 residents, they went to 6 residents. So just for the public's sake, that we will be monitoring it to ensure that, and I'm sure during his reputation, he will abide by his testimony today that we do have the appropriate action 10 years from now, something unlikely would happen. So just for the public's knowledge, but I have no other further questions. I think you did a nice job explaining it. So I'm not sure if we want to ask Mr. Hatt. Yes, Fred, if you have any additional questions you'd like to ask.
Yeah, thanks. So, Mr. Carvajal, the way I understand it, then you pretty much have somebody on site maybe 8-12 hours a day. And then you said somebody be available. So some days, you know, I'm a little confused because you were kind of saying, well, they're either there or they're available. So what
If the staff is not there, there's no staff, there's nobody in the house either. It's because they are in the community, they went to Walmart shopping, maybe together with the staff. There's always a staff. That's why it's considered a group home. Otherwise, it will be like renting somebody a home and we just go to the house for 8 hours a day or 8 hours a day or 12 hours a day or whatever. And we just provide the services and they just stay alone. These are people that have to be with somebody 24/7, 7 days a week.
Okay, so when you said, so like at night,
Yes,
okay, but you were saying there are days, you talked about days there. So at night, if somebody's staying there at night, so if one of the 2 residents is sleeping there, you're gonna have one of your staff people
yes, always.
there. Okay, so anytime one person is there, there has to be a physical person there.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, now I understand that. So, so now, so you said you're with you're part of the adult autism waiver program.
Yes.
Right, okay. So that tends to be like middle spectrum, right?
That's no such thing. Somebody who has autism is autism spectrum disorder. You know, we already took it out at DSM-4, which was a psychiatric manual for diagnosing people with disabilities, right? So somebody have autism, they have autism. It's not that you have a high functioning person or a low functioning person. You have, that's a diagnosis, and it's the same for everybody. Yes, there's people that are lower functioning in some capacities, but not in all, because autism is totally different than somebody who is MR. They just use that to understand that. Some person with an individual with autism can learn better than all of us together in one area, but they may have some behavior that are really odd. You see somebody at a supermarket getting too close to you, or touching you and saying, "I'm sorry, excuse me," or grabbing things, or talking really loud, or hands flapping, or being or even touching you without for no reason, you know, or dressing like not according to the weather, you know, and so many shorts that you have to. So you might be needed. Before I used to be a police officer, I didn't know anything about this. So when I learned, I had been shocked, and I get shocked every day. Because sometimes our understanding of the way we see people, it can make us scared. You know, you see somebody who is 7 foot tall, almost 6'8", 6'9", 400 pounds, going like this, and you have a child, you have a wife, you might feel threatened by that. So that's why the individual may have somebody that can be a buffer in between and can understand the behavior to make the community safe too.
Well, I understand you're the expert on this, so I always heard them talk about a spectrum of autism, and that some of the upper levels of the spectrum have like overlays of disorders, like they might have a destructive disorder or some kind of explosive disorder where all of a sudden they just go off. So would any of your people be in that what I'm calling the upper spectrum, where they also have like overlays of disorders?
But I'm a behavior analyst, you know, and what we do, I said before, we deal with the behavior. What we do, we use positive reinforcement. The only thing that changes behavior, is punishment. If somebody is raping people in the community, you put them in jail, you kill them, you punish that person, right? And you're done with it. But we cannot do that to everybody. So we use positive reinforcement to introduce another behavior that serves the same function. For example, somebody do this, right? And you want to it's disruptive to the community and to the environment, to the person itself, right? So you want to teach another behavior, but you cannot eliminate the behavior. We need that behavior for fun when you're on a show, you give a cry. So but we introduce another behavior and we reinforce it with whatever that person likes. For example, you like we try not to use food because the person gets obesity and diabetes and all that, or we use something like a movie or going out or something positive, positive behavior support, and we reinforce their positive behavior. And in time, what they do is they use the positive behavior that we introduce, and they eliminate or decrease their behavior that is concerning to us. Or somebody smacking in the face.
I understand that and how you're working, and that's incredible. The patience that you have working in that regard to help people deal with things that are disruptive to themselves. You're helping people struggling to really get by in life. But my question to you is basically this whole question are you trying to help people in life who may be at the upper end where they have schizophrenia, they have explosive behaviors, they have disruptive behaviors? Are you gonna be trying to help them with group home, or do they have another facility?
Like the state is really careful with individuals that need, it depends on the level of services that the person needs, like it's schizophrenia.
Just 1 second, because I know they want to.
Yes.
Words here for me. Quickly, like you're gonna have to do an emergency management.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay, so that emergency management, plan, the commissioners ought to know if you're dealing with people and you're the people that you're helping them cope with things like explosive behaviors, schizophrenia, disruptive things where people are harming themselves or harming property. If you're gonna have people like that in your house, then the commissioners and the emergency management, that's gonna have, they're gonna have to be aware of that, because, you know, if you've got one person there, and one person is going off somewhere here, and the other person going off over there, there might be a need for. So I guess the answer then is you're saying you're leaving open the option that you might be having people at the facility where you'll have to be careful about occasional, explosive behaviors and things such as that.
We don't deal with that type of, that's the more intense case. And the state looks for a placement that is appropriate to those individuals. We don't have people with.
So let me just interrupt you for a second. I'm saying the state is not gonna place anybody, and you're not gonna entertain anybody that does evidence, or that is struggling with things like, explosive behavior. The whole thing such as that, where somebody suddenly gets by.
We don't have the appropriate training to deal with that self-aggression, mutilation, and maybe and those are more psychiatric sometimes, because they need to be treated with medication. We don't treat people with medication. Like I said, our program is more of a 90% support, let's say, and 10%. These individuals they have jobs, they drive, these individuals are like you and I. What they have is, when we're talking about the autism, is a condition that they have a behavior that is odd to the public, and that's why they cannot leave 100% in the hand of it in the community. We do not work with explosive behaviors of mutilation, people that are aggressive in themselves and others. Not that somebody will not develop, but at 27, 28, 29, that's when the psychiatric both and the expert.
Mr. Carter, I don't want to interrupt either, but I think if this helps, Fred, that the actual motion that will be before the board tonight will be amended to include 2 adults with autism diagnosis, not schizophrenia, not another psychological. I don't know if that helps, but that's.
Just put in there something about no overlay conditions like autism without maybe overlaying disorders.
I think we would rather name specifically the disease than open it up to every possible one, because then we would have to list probably every possible disease. You know what I mean?
All right.
And let me just say this for the last time. Anybody, if they have autism, can do have a mental disorder, like mental health disorders are different than intellectual disability and autism. Like you and I can have depression or anxiety or schizophrenia, and somebody with autism can also have a diagnosis with schizophrenia or depression or anxiety, right? That's a mental health disorder.
Mr. Cardwell, I'm just gonna, I think everybody.
Quick question. So, as far as involved, you have a beautiful property there. You've got a pole barn, you've got a garage, you've got an orchard there, you've got a picnic pavilion, you've got river access. So my question to you is, you also have other group homes, and based on your website, you have different facilities, and you have affiliates that are all over kind of eastern Pennsylvania. So the question is, what plans do you have for all those facilities there other than the two people that will be residing in the house. What are your plans for the rest of the property?
No, there's no rest of the property, it's only one property. We cannot have anybody else on outside coming there. We cannot have, like you and I can have a social moment and get together. This is difficult like you and I would say have fight like you and I. But if this is not like a get together, we're gonna have a party and we're gonna bring 100 people there. You know what I mean? It's nothing like that. But you're not gonna see a whole bunch of people getting together here and gathering, you know what I mean? Because this is a beautiful property. I have all the beautiful properties that are bigger than this too. And by the river too. But we're not gonna do that. You don't have to worry about that. Like I say, you know what I mean? The officer, you know what I mean? The fire department, the township, we follow the rules and the laws and, you know, we're not going to be boisterous, we're not gonna cause any issues that you're gonna be concerned with. As a matter of fact, if you pass by the property right now, it's beautiful, guy, you know, you see it. And my other neighbor is also very happy with what we have done. We're going to maintain it like that. There is no worries, and I guarantee there's not gonna be any issue.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, and I come see you.
Okay,
Okay.
I'll see you. I'll be out there watering.
Thank you.
All right, is that all that you have to present tonight, Mr. Cardinal?
Yes.
Okay, no other witnesses or exhibits or anything? And Mr. Howe, I'm assuming you don't want to present any evidence or give any testimony? At this point, unless anyone from the public has a comment to make, the board could entertain a motion. Anyone from the public have any comments? So the motion that the board could entertain at this point would be a motion to grant a conditional use approval to Opportunity Behavioral Health for a group home for 2 adults with no sleeping staff and no structural modifications to the property so as to maintain its configuration as a single-family home at 2800 River Road, Reading, PA 19605, with the following condition: that the applicant will comply and abide by all the testimony that has been provided at this hearing that is of record. That the applicant will comply with all requirements and regulations of the township zoning ordinance, as well as all federal, state, and local laws, rules, and regulations. That the applicant will apply for and maintain all necessary federal, state, or local permits required to operate a group home from the property. That the applicant may not expand, alter, or otherwise change the use of the property without all applicable approvals and permits. That the applicant will comply with section 355-50 of the township zoning ordinance regarding group homes at all times. That the applicant will provide the township with a list of the names of occupants and their diagnoses, which shall be limited to autism. And the terms and conditions of this decision shall be binding upon successors in interests of land, and failure to comply with any of these conditions may result in revocation of the zoning relief achieved tonight.
Thank you, Bill.
So
Second.
Any further questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Noes, if any? The ayes have it, so ordered. Thank you, Mr. Carl. Thank you, Mr. Hatcher. Testimony.
Thank you.
And that will conclude the conditional use hearing for this evening.
Okay, thank you. Moving on, before we get into the first public portion, as you are well aware, if you were not, at the July board meeting, we had a extensive conversation with the community about the storm that we had on July 9th and the extensive work that we tried to do or accomplish since that time as a board. We've done numerous things. If you've seen us walking literally in the stream at several points on the way to Mount Laurel, that we passed this golf course. But just to give you an update, we've got Pam Stevens here from System Design to talk a little bit about the flood damage. But we have met and organized a meeting with the Senator Swain's office with the appropriate officials there regarding entering stream banks and Pam and Ms. Schaefer mentioned that 99% of it is private property, so we want to make sure we educate folks on that. So we do have a flyer for that town hall meeting we were able to set up, and we had an extensive conversation with the senator about that and our desire as a community of what we can do, what funds are available, all those things you'll learn at September 11th meeting. We continue to do ongoing storm cleanup of trash and debris from private property. We have filed for 3 emergency permits to perform work in or near the stream to remove obstructions and repair impacted infrastructure. We are completing 1 emergency permit locations. The other 2 are to be completed in the next 45 days. We prepared to file assistance and assist residents in filing with PEMA and FEMA if and when funding becomes available. We're prepared to file for grant funding for more substantial work in the creek beyond the scope of what the township employees are capable of, obviously following all the things that we need to do in terms of permitting and appropriate things that will be cost effective, that we're not really back here just with another event of Mother Nature, which was a pretty bad one. We're well north of $200,000 of our own township money invested. Because of the flood damage, that number continues to rise, and we're going to continue to do everything we can to reduce the impact to these events moving forward. But I'd like to thank the staff and the members of the board who have taken a very, very active role and spent countless amount of hours since our last meeting to try to come up with a plan to help reduce the impacts of 9 inches of rain within, a several hour period. So I don't know if we can ever do everything. We are trying to do everything we can to help residents through this situation. So at this time, I'll ask Pam from our engineer to come forward just to explain a little bit. She attended one of the walks or numerous walks private with our township personnel, just so we understand from an engineering perspective what other options we may have available. So I will turn it over to Pam at this time.
And I have the microphone and the map over here, so I'm trying not to turn my back on. Couple numbers. It's here, that's better. Thank you. We start looking into this. In the aftermath of this storm. Again, most of the property, like the Commissioner Mel has stated, is on private property.
You speak louder so the people in the back can hear.
Is that better? I have to stand more close. Yeah, used to that. Okay, so like Mr. Malinowski had stated, the majority of the photos that I'm going to go through are on private property. So there would need to be easements, there would need to be permission, hold harmless, and all sorts of other things, as well as permitting to get onto the property to address the issues. But you're not responsible because it's private property. So we're going to present these photos, and then I'd be requesting the commissioners to authorize SD to look into further what to do in these locations. It is going to be something that's not going to be done tomorrow. There's a local share account grant coming up that opens up September 1st, $25,000 to $1 million. And there's no match. And it's community projects. So this could be one that the commissioners can authorize systems design to put together an application for November 30th for a larger project. Because you would need to go through all the permitting anyway, so this would give you some lead time. But as I'm going through these pictures, just trying to show you some of the materials, debris, and items that are still in the stream. So we walked upstream from around 1114 Mount Laurel, all the way to Forest Avenue Bridge. Everybody in the back end of the building. Okay, good. So the first photo you come to is a damaged foundation from a building just upstream, and it's taken away a big chunk of the foundation. So these, you can see how powerful the water was in floating concrete. The next photo is where a Canadian basket, Canadian wool basket fell into the creek. So now the creek, bottom of the creek is now down to about 3 feet, and that section is down 6 feet.
Are you people gonna look up?
They're looking at pictures.
Okay. He
Yeah.
he has an easel.
And she has a map of where the pictures were taken. They're looking at pictures of the creek.
Then like, you see the easel? Back here. We put our number live. Thank you. So, no shake your head. Not yours.
All right, I'll do this. Okay, so I am down in this section. The photos are numbered. So this is the first photos I'm talking about, and then if you follow the creek. All right, this is Forest Avenue. So this is the section I'm talking about, right around 1114 Mount Laurel, up the creek to Forest Avenue, okay? Just so you can, folks, get an idea where we are. So the next one is upstream from the Canadian basket, and it's right at these after the state bridge there. You can see that's the start of the neck down. So it goes from about 20 feet wide to 6 foot wide. And that's been that way forever. There's a lot of structures within the floodway in there, which adds to the dilemma in that section of the neck down. The next photo, you can see there's hanging debris that's just waiting for the next storm to go and block the bridge that's downstream. So you don't just have stones, you also have debris, trees, there's tires. The next photo going upstream shows the start of they're not sediment anymore, they're rock and sediment, so-called gravel bars. And so this section of Wall Run really got filled up with this heavy stone and the debris. Unfortunately, the erosion was so bad in the next photo that now we have our mature trees. Their roots are being undermined, so you're losing the stability of the embankments. So that's, Mother Nature tries to help along creeks, but she also damages creeks. And here's a case, there's several creeks like this along Laurel, one of that, or the tree's going to fall in, and then it's going to cause another obstruction. It's just a matter of time. So this is just downstream of the little date, the next photo. And that's you can see there's tires, you can see there's trash, you can see a lot of debris is from, plus there's another large sand gravel bar. The next photo is the dam has been destroyed. You can see the hunks from the dam. Here's more concrete floatables. Mother Nature will move them again. So, but again, all of this is private property. There's not one point in this area that is township owned, except the next one I'm getting to. This is the shoulder of mountainside. It got pretty damaged, but the township can repair that. The next photo is the start of just showing you the debris and the sheds on Rising Sun. So the creek split at some point, jumped the bank and came down Rising Sun. So it was in the creek bed, but it was also Rising Sun was the unnamed tributary that developed during the flood, unfortunately. And I think, Jeremy, it was about 3 feet deep or so. And then the road public works had to repair Rising Sun because there were Mr. Wolfing, there were like 3 or 4 huge sinkholes. So that the storm really damaged Rising Sun, but public works did a beautiful job in repairing that. Several of the sheds also floated and removed significant distances. The next photo you can see, this is just another massive tangle of organic debris and trash. Continuing up. Now, we have residents that are putting their grass clippings along the creek. Unfortunately, that goes into the creek and chokes more, adds more to the stormwater problems. I'm sorry. So we just want to make note of that. Now, this is the one that you're thinking about, an emergency permit on Forest Avenue. Large stone, I'll call it just a stone bar. The creek is also split, so there's a small portion of the rural run on the far side. The majority is on my side where it's taking the fire. But this is probably 300 feet or so at least. It's long.
Excuse me, Pat,
Yes.
you could be looking at that picture and at what point would DEP allow you to remove that? My impression is you cannot remove that. It's part of the creek, can't dig down into the creek, so what part of that? It's not a sandbar, it's a rock bar.
It's a rock bar.
What could you remove?
Well, that's what we're trying to do is see if you could just get down to what the natural creek bed was. You're not digging deeper, you're not trying to do anything, just remove as much of the obstruction as possible. Now, my understanding of DEP and the Conservation District is they want you to do everything from stream bank, not in stream. So unless you have a monster arm excavator, you may not get all of that. So that's one thing we're going to be talking to the Conservation District about and DEP, local Jim, as to what the limitations are to any of the permitting, because we have to abide by that. Plus, if you have trout, which we do, there's only certain times of the year you can be near the creek or doing work in the creek. Maybe your equipment's not in the creek, but you're doing work in the creek. There's several months that you have blocked off. So we have to keep that in mind too, that there are limitations to when you could perform the work if you get the permit, and then you would, whether or not it's considered still an emergency at that point, probably not, then you would have to bid it. So now we're talking state wage rates. So it just keeps on, adding. But we haven't gotten all that information yet. I'm sure we'll figure, and that's something that at the end of my presentation, I'd like to have SD authorized to look into some of these questions and information. This was just a short presentation to explain to you. Some of you walked it, but just what we saw, and we saw a lot. And this is the forest, the last picture on this map up here for the folks in the audience. This is the forest bridge culvert. And you could see it when it came up and around, it chewed and swirled, and both sides of the downstream were damaged pretty significantly. I don't know about the upstream, we didn't walk up there.
Wasn't too bad, we've been in
Downstream. So is that part, that's part of the emergency permit, correct?
from the bridge downstream, correct?
So that's that part of the presentation. Then I switched to what we think a lot of the debris, a lot of tons and tons of soil and stone came from upstream. And this is 1812 Mount Laurel Road. And in the farthest, which you can see in the embankment, it's probably about 30 feet high or so. And it's gone. So during the storm event, they kept eroding the lower part. And then we have a landslide. So all that went into the creek, it went downstream, and it's massive. And that property, again, private property, but the creek split. So it split down the creek, but it also split across private property and then joined back up again. That's just to give you an idea. There was so much debris and material from upstream, that's what we're seeing downstream.
And if I may, it's where that picture was, where the landslide took place. When I was up there, I visited with Mr. Beck. Toured this, not when you were up, but I could stop later. But even farther north on the creek, there's another location where the exact same thing happened, where right at the creek bank, it eroded away until, again, like an entire section of the mountain is kind of the hill, just like Louis was.
Exactly, yeah, this is as far as we walk without the pay, but yeah, that just gives you an idea that there's probably further sections upstream, you know, we already went, that's where a lot of this debris came from.
Thank you.
Excuse me, Pam, I don't know if you have an answer to this.
Sure.
The first section we looked at.
Yes,
Number two, picture number two, where the creek is basically 5 feet wide and will take no more than 5 feet of water pipe in it. All the creek beds that you're talking about are above that, and you're gonna remove things and make the water come down there and not go in Outlaw Road. Has to go in this little neck.
and it will.
What do you think could be done?
Right, now, I would like to think we would get permission and that you would just restore the gate and wall to where it was. Where you can do pre-storm prevention, that's it. You're changing the water course if you do anything else, the DEP probably will not permit you to do anything more than that. But again, all those structures right there are in the flood. So that's part of the problem. And you feel bad, but there are grants and loans if there is damage for a homeowner to get some funding to flood-proof the house or raise the house. There's some things that they, so it basically stays with it is, but Jim, before this meeting, Jim spoke to me about the previous flooding that he had researched. If we had a flooding again in that, we call it Compass Island Fault. 1986, 2006, 2020, this year 2023. This is not 100 years, this is more than 100-year event. And you're still having flooding every so many years. So that's not going to stop. We just want to, SDE, we just want to look at what we feel will be able to not present or cause another problem downstream with any more damage. And try to return certain areas to their pre-storm, but not change pretty much anything. Since all you're trying to do is restore. But we still need to do some research. And it's going to be money, a lot of money. And that's why I offered the local share account grant. That's a great grant, no match. All community oriented projects. This is definitely a community oriented project. So your hands are sort of tied, not tied depending on the locations and the classification of the creek and what DEP will allow you to do, and also the times of year you're going to be committed to. So we have to look at all of that. Any other questions on the first two sections? Okay. So the third section is Laurel Lane Park. Let me change my view. There you go. There we go. I'm just gonna go by this.
And you're doing fine. I understand it can be really intimidating to sit before the board and start painting.
No,
And sit in front of an audience.
no, if you felt this,
Yeah.
all it does is fly. It's just
I'm lucky. Believe, no.
photo paper, gotta love it. Beautiful pictures that slip through the water. All right. So now we're doing a section for the Laurel Run from Payne Avenue, Laurel Lane Park, Payne Avenue to Laurel Lane Disc Golf. So we're looking downstream from Payne Avenue, and all it is rock. There's no creek anymore. There's no water. That's probably 4 feet easily. So you're getting close to where, you know, the capacity of the creek is significantly diminished. But in this case, there's no residents around, unlike the other section that we discussed. So you keep walking down, and it's some areas were sandy, which was weird, and some areas were very stony. But I also show portions where the bank was eroded again, so we're adding to it by adding more creek embankment being destroyed and causing more debris to be in the creek. So we keep going further, and it's just, I couldn't even imagine how many truckloads we could take a guess, do GIS and look at it. But this would probably be hundreds and hundreds of truckloads of debris to take out of there. And again, if that's all floodplain area, you have to present something and report to you, and you have to decide what you really want to do with that. Maybe there's certain areas where it's real close to the top of the wave that you want to focus on, but it's deep. So there's a road bank, more road bank. They're the same place sort of over again, but you can see the devastation. In the executive session, though, I talked about the large tree root ball. That's just waiting to be picked up and go downstream. And not far downstream is there's two sewer, sorry. I have to use it too. Sanitary sewer here's one of them, Jen, correct me if I'm wrong, but this is the authority. However, you had to go in and repair that real quick. The authority had to go in because there was water going in, and there's another one downstream that got damaged that flood waters was going in. That tree root could take that manhole out, take that stream bridge out, take the other one. I'm gonna tell you, it's a big tree root. And where that tree came from is right upstream. So we lost another massive old tree because of the erosion. When that's where the tree root came from. So there's some things that I know we put in for a grant for repairing corridors, if you remember that. There's the other section we're working on, which is hanging upstream. So now maybe we'll apply for another grant again. And this, if we had more trees along the embankment, probably would have made a huge difference in not having that in the embankment. The roads were terribly. The stone came from, I can't believe all that stone kept coming down the creek. There it is. We only see water again. This is intermittent, but you still need permits for intermittent because of that. So even if you say, "Hey, we're going to draw," you're still going to have to get permits. And as I said, there's sections of the lower Laurel Lane Park area that are, exceptional value. So PA Fish and Boat Commission and DEP look at different classifications very, very closely. So it's exceptional value plus it's trap. So you've got double things in that section. But yeah, I'm really concerned about the manholes and the debris. Whether or not the stone would cause harm, I know how much force is put against it. So there's a lot. This narrow. So I don't have a magic wand. I wish I did that. I could make it all better. Put it back to green. And I'm sure you all wish you had a magic wand too to do that. No. So I'd like permission for SDE to give you a more formal report on things we suggest you could do, but you're not obligated, and we're really only going to focus on things that probably will cause more damage if another storm event comes in. And that could be a small storm event, but if it carries the debris, blocks the bridge, or smashes into a manhole, that's another devastation you can prevent. Okay.
Yeah, so the residents would like a plan, and I guess I'd like
Yes.
a plan that's feasible.
Correct.
That's going to improve things.
Correct.
I know there's two sections of the water that comes down to that Laurel Lane area, and then there's areas that there isn't any creek bed. It just goes all over the place. And I know DEP, they like water to go slower, so it goes in the ground more. than fast out in the river. And personally, I'd like to go fast in the river if we could do that, but DEP doesn't like that. But if you would take care of some of the area down in the Laurel Lane area down to the West Bellevue Bridge down there, would that alleviate the area up in Temple area because the water flow fast?
No. It necks down to that 6-foot section. So you're going to get, just like with a bridge, because it's a bridge, right? And that's the small area. Just pretend it's a bridge with a very small opening. So you're going to create backwater, which then creates a higher level, and it's going to top the bridge and spread out. The volume of the water's got to go somewhere. So if you have this small little section, it's going up and out. So you're not necessarily increasing, it's just we're trying to see if we can regain the creek capacity in certain sections pre-storm. But I agree with you, I think Laurel Lane Park or one section was more meandering, which is what DEP wants, and that's what we're trying to do with the grant. Repairing, let it meander, let it do its thing. It would make the park definitely more beautiful. It's beautiful now, but I don't think people want to see a rock creek.
That's the problem is that area down, well, that basically is water. It's the water that rains that come down 6 months out of the year. There isn't any water down there, it's all rock. It basically is when you have runoff water, that's where it goes to the Schuylkill River. So that's
Because you have the unnamed tributary, that's also adding to that, correct? That's what I'm looking for, is permission to give you more of a formal report and plan so that you have something more bigger than photos, but the photos were just to give you an idea of what you're looking at. And then the public can also see the plan. And SDE and myself, we've been in this business. Like myself, 38 years, been in the engineering world, and Tom under about the same. So, and Chuck has a little bit less, but we have a lot of different experience. So we want to make sure that you understand it's going to be as thorough a report as we can get you. So keep it in mind. We're not obligated, because most of it's private property except for one.
Thank you, Pam, for the report. While you're there, I know we have a couple residents signed in. Probably help with the answer is Jody and Dennis Turner, I think are signing. If you'd like to come up to the mic, at least come up to the people area, because she might be able to answer your questions a little more effectively than us until we get our report.
Okay, like, with stone washed in, right by the Forest Avenue Bridge, the guy that lives on Forest Avenue, the development side there, he went and pushed all the rocks into the creek. That's why that got knocked down right there, that bridge. And he did that after the storm with the front end loader.
Or Jimmy, whatever that.
No. And that's, I mean, at the time, the Berks County Conservation District is the enforcement arm of the Department of Environmental Protection. They're the ones that need to be notified if that happens. We can certainly let them know. Now, whether or not they'll be able to, they'll be able to say.
I contacted Mark Rossi's office also, and he said DEP will allow township to widen the creek but not make it any deeper.
That's not been our experience with the emergency permits that we've applied for.
Right.
The emergency permits that we've applied for and received allow us to remove the deposits from the storm.
Okay.
So
that's what I was told from
Yeah.
Rossi's office.
But DEP, who's issuing the permits, was providing us a different opinion. Correct. Yeah.
All right.
What was this? What was the address, do you think, of the property that was depositing all of the debris?
So you go over the bridge, first house right there.
On the right,
Yes. Oh, be on the left as you go over the bridge.
over the Forest Avenue.
Over Forest Avenue Bridge, first house right there.
Then you said about people depositing their. Yes, that's at the end of our street. And, okay, as far as trash pickup, so they're still doing that?
They are, I think they were actually on Rising Sun here this morning. Ms. Garrow apparently missed a couple of days for whatever reason, not sure
They
why.
told me that they were not doing it. They
Well-
did that as a one-time favor to Muhlenberg Township.
It's not a favor, trash is trash, whether it's
No,
a
no,
bulk
no.
item or whether it's an old piece of luggage that you put out. So we
No.
can have that conversation with Ms. Garrow.
Okay, well, I
Yeah.
also did, and
Yeah.
you put me on hold and said the
we'll-
supervisor said.
We'll take
Okay.
care of that.
And the house next to me, I don't know the address, Jeremy, what's your old address?
1335.
What's going on there? Is it abandoned, condemned? What is going on?
The extent of what we understand there is that it's a rental property and the tenants were evicted.
Yeah, correct. You put on.
Yeah, and Steve, if property maintenance codes can,
Okay,
Can
then the
start
code
citing
says, please put out, because I don't know what's going on and it basically is falling down.
I think we just saw that, had that conversation on Thursday or Friday of last week.
All right, well.
Right, thank you.
They're on the speaker.
Anyone wish to speak or have any questions more about the flooding? We have there. Mr. Carmel?
Yes,
Sure, go ahead.
I need 2 seconds. Hillcrest Avenue. Mount Laurel Run goes right through it. It's a small bridge that goes through Hillcrest Avenue. It's on the corner of First Valley Road and Mount Laurel, right?
Yeah.
There's a little bridge on Hillcrest Avenue that maybe 20% of it is out. And another township,
That's one of the ones.
That's correct. We have an emergency permit to take care of that.
great, okay, thanks. Okay.
Yeah.
That's it, thank you,
Yeah, we got that one covered.
thanks.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am. If you could just state your name for the record and address, would be appreciated.
Tracy Rhodes, 1311 Rising Sun Avenue. First, I want to thank Jeremy and Mr. Boback again. They've been crucial to our cleanup there. And they did help get more of our trash moved today. I'm sorry you guys missed it, but I had to handle it as well. They stopped picking up our flood related debris. It wasn't stone and sand this time. It was washed up pallets, etc. But you guys got it handled this morning. I really appreciate everything for that. Maybe I missed it because it was hard to keep track of. I know the bridge near Mount Laurel catering or whatever is DP, because I mean, PennDOT, because I had probably within 2 years to get it cleaned out last year finally, after a 2-year argument over the 2020 flood, and the only reason they finally expedited it was because Senator Schwenk got involved. Do we know anything about that? Has anybody reported it? Will you guys advocate that maybe that can be cleaned up again? I haven't had a chance to look. When we were driving here today, I could see the rock from the road driving by, so I know it's gotta be high and topped.
Yeah, and she committed to have PennDOT out there with the map.
She did, that's
So
correct.
that was several weeks right after. our-
I just didn't know, I wanted to
Yeah,
make sure that
we'll
was.
follow back up. She committed, we wanted to see yellow trucks there that week and she did that, so.
Well, and maybe some that has happened again. I've been 7 weeks of cleanup pretty much every day except when I'm working, so.
No, I hear you. Yeah, we'll follow up and get back to you.
Right, again, thank you very much. I know it's hard to sit up here and hear how frustrated we all are. So I do thank you for the efforts you have made. I wish it was a magic wand, like you said, but I know this, I'm probably unpopular with everybody back there for thanking you, but really, thanks for everything you have been trying to do for us.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to comment on the flood or no? Yes, ma'am. You can say your name and address for the record.
My name is Carol Calcagno. I live on Mount Laurel Road, 1335. Right behind me is like an alleyway. Was an alleyway, it's now property side. What happens is after a rising sun gets flooded with water, it comes over an empty lot. That's there. And then it comes rushing down through this little alleyway and wiping out all of our bushes and everything else. I hope I'm not hearing what I thought I heard. that there's nothing that can be done about all of this. Because if it isn't, then I think there's some of us that should consider trying to sell or cut our losses, get out, and find another place to live. Now, I've lived there for 40 years, and I've seen this happen, as you mentioned earlier, how many times? And every time it's gonna be, someone's gonna have it, that's it, they're gonna act. And here we are again. So, like in your September meeting, do you have any kind of information that can help with all of this? Please make sure that you copy some, it would have been nice to see some of.
Yeah,
Maybe somebody was going to stuff.
I know they,
You think you have it, the word that you can do.
Broken. Normally we wouldn't have that display, so
We'll
apologize for that.
Share them with everybody on the backside. I mean, we have nothing to hide about it. I mean,
Yeah.
The devastation and it's frustrating for all of us, but
Yeah.
we're gonna authorize them to hopefully, come up with a plan that we can do best. As she mentioned, it's a very tough situation. Because of DEP and the regulations, does so much with private property. And I do want to make sure that we don't invest your money, taxpayer money, in a problem that just isn't gonna fix it. So that's what that's what we're gonna task them for us, and the board is to say, come up with the best possible solution. We can inform you for those decisions you need to make as a homeowner, than other just to throw $1 million at it and you have the same problem 2 years from now. And we don't want to do that today. We're gonna do everything we can to try to provide the best advice we can.
I appreciate it, and help you get out there. Because it's a heck of a loss between the cars and the sheds and, property and everything else. And our personal items that. Things like that. The other question I have for you is, and maybe you could put it on your website when you, put all the stuff out there. Is this raising up of the houses?
that's something through FEMA that you can get, if, let's say you're in the flood, you had damage. Depending on how much monetary improvement you want to do to your home, you may qualify with a called substantial improvement. And then that would require the residents to be brought up to code. Full code, all the UCC code, but if you don't have that much damage, you're less than 50% of the market value. It's just called flood proofing. And again, by code. But in some instances, the loans and the information that FEMA and FEMA can get to you would give you low interest loans. It's not grants, unfortunately, but low interest loans to raise your, or do different things to help you flood proof. So there are resources, but it's not guaranteed, it's not guaranteed, here's the money.
Yeah, right.
It's, you have to repay it back, and there's a whole process that you also have to comply with the codes. But it's an option. It's an option.
Thank you very much.
Okay, you're very welcome.
At this stage of the game, nothing changes. I'm not gonna invest more money.
Were you the one with the banker that was now on the beach volleyball court? No, because there was one that was all sand now, so it's perfect beach volleyball.
I had to fight for it.
Sorry to hear that.
So that's enough time to get off and a lot of my own. But thank you all for everything you're trying to do. Believe me, it is appreciated.
Okay, so moving on, we do have someone sign in for a parking issue, it's all things at 3040 River Road.
All line stuff. River Road. The River Road and Liza's Bridge, it seems like we have party central. I don't know what people about it. There's more trash. I know you guys, Monday mornings, probably spend half a day up there picking the trash. I can't imagine the people live at the northwest one, they can't even sit outside. You guys put blocks up, but they weren't big enough. They moved them so they could park in there north. I don't know. Summer's winding down, so maybe it'll alleviate some, but one morning, well, the one Saturday, somebody had a birthday party down there. They actually had a generator down here and a DJ. So you can imagine how loud it was. So I don't know, I'm just. For all motorcycle meets. Daytona, Sturgis. They have guys walking around with computers and they check license, registration, they can do that quick. You know, maybe you can scare them away that. I don't know.
Yeah, you bring up a good point, because I think I saw the same one, because there were New York plates, was it? There, all back there, we had a party, that was driving home from work event.
I don't know where they
We
need
can, we call them, and they have full service. They
No, no.
just show up.
It's a stamp brand park.
Yeah.
Yeah, we put the stones there, and because there's so many.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I heard the music this weekend, I went down. And you can, with the Laurel Run Park, you cannot have an amplifying system. And there was one going this weekend, and that's gonna change.
You can't have that over there? Oh, I'll have to go over and ask them to turn it down there.
Stan Brown Park is another issue. And, you know, yeah, it's a quality of life thing for me. I born and raised in Muhlenberg, and I see things happening which I don't like, and I don't want to move. And that's why, you know, we did the quality of life with the ordinance, you know, loud music, even in a house, should go across the border of the house. I mean, it's disrespectful to the neighbors, and it's against the rules. So whenever you hear amplified music, where should be called?
Non-emergency police line, 610-929-5454.
Yeah, all right. You know, I'm just, you know, parking, there's gonna be an accident there sometime, you know, that's, you know, they got. In the trash issue. Now, I go down and check, they do clean the island off, there's not much trash left over at the island where they're at. They do bring it back to them, but then you guys are stuck with it cleaning it up. Maybe put another barrel there, I don't know, but then there'd be more. They would take it home with them, that would be nice. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And to his point, I was heading out of town one day and went down that way and parking. To his point, I mean, they were bumper to bumper and sideways, and then they were out on the River Road yet too. I think part of the thing is we've been focusing on Jim Dietrich, and we tried to clean that area up so people aren't there, and then they're gonna go to the next point. So, you know, we'll have to start.
I was happy to see the stones. That was great.
And even that at Kelly's Lock. I mean, you can't even walk in there some days, you're not cars that are down there now too, so. You know, it just, people just kind of climb the area and move in, so we just have to step up our due diligence.
Thank you, Commissioner. I know.
Thank you as well.
Thank you, Sam, for your help, and yes, so Jim will get in touch with them.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
And thank you for authorizing us to look further into this for you and your residents. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care, everybody.
the new director to the line. Welcome.
Good evening, commissioners and members of the community. I'm here tonight to introduce myself. My name is Melissa Carroll, and I'm the new director at Muhlenberg Community Library. I spent most of my life in St. Petersburg, Florida, where I was a school teacher, elementary school. After getting my master's degree in library science, I was the director at a small rural library in upstate New York. After moving here, I got the position of the youth services coordinator at Muhlenberg Community Library, where it has been a joy. I forged bonds and relationships with the school, who have been great. We work very closely. Being on the school grounds has been great for us. We have grown our program tremendously over the last 2 years. I actually like to thank the fire department. They brought out a truck last week to our end of summer carnival. As director, I really look forward to working with the township. I'm getting to know everyone. This is a great community. We are going to be upgrading the library in the next year. We're bringing more services for the community. We're bringing the library into the future. It's not just a book repository anymore. We have tons of programs from ages 0 to 100. We have grown, like I said, the youth services over the last 2 years. I look forward to the next year to bringing more adult services and more programs and things for our community to actually come out to the library. I want to bring the library to the community. I feel like it's not used or utilized as much as it could be. I invite all of you to bring your children, your grandchildren, and come down and visit the library and take a look at all the good that we've been doing. I look forward to working with all of you in the next years to come. And we're really excited about the things that are going on at the library. We want everyone to come down and see them. I know a couple of you did come down for a few events that we had last year, and you mentioned it was the first time you've been to the library in a while. We don't want that. We want you guys to come in and enjoy the services that we do provide. So I look forward to working with you all. If you have any questions, please don't hesitate. Just give us a call at the library. I'm always available to talk or show anyone around, and I'm really excited. I have a huge passion for books and for literacy, and I love the library, and I look forward to making it a better place for our community. And that's all.
Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you so much. It's nice to meet you all.
All right, anyone else wish to comment under the public portion? If not, we'll move on to the consent agenda. I need a motion to approve the entire consent agenda. Move.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those any? The ayes have it, so ordered. Any unfinished business? No. New business. Okay, online.
Don't read the placeholder part, otherwise the motion.
Any motion to approve payment of bills presented by the Director of Finance and Customer Service? So move. Second. Any questions or comments? I'll just make one comment as Ms. Sinowitz said, it's correct me today. On the packet that you got, we did receive the reimbursement for the multimodal funding. For some reason on our the balance sheet it showed 0 revenue coming in, so we did get that money back, correct?
In February,
In February,
so you saw 0.
in the current period.
But the year to date is correct.
Okay.
Yeah. Better be our one balance.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Noes if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. I need a motion to authorize the chief of police to purchase and upfit 3 police vehicles for a price not to exceed $210,000. So move.
Second.
Chief, just want to give a quick synopsis for the board and the public.
Sure. So when I got appointed last year, the department or the board authorized me to purchase 3 vehicles, which I really appreciate. Our main patrol fleet is in fairly good condition. The concern now is the spare vehicles and the detectives vehicles. So with this authorization, if it would pass, we would be replacing one of our detectives vehicles and 2 vehicles.
It's also important to note that we won't incur any costs until next year. The reason that we have this motion so early is because manufacturers now have an ordering window where they open for 1 week, usually later in the year, and you need to be prepared to order when that ordering window comes open in order to be able to be guaranteed a car when they start making it. So we won't get this car until it's manufactured at some point next year.
Yeah, I think the other thing to note, informed me today is that by ordering when this window opens, we're able to order hybrid vehicles, which actually reduce the cost of the township for operations and maintenance. Last year, we were not able to do that because the window had already closed. So by approving this purchase now, we can get hybrid vehicles, which will reduce the operation.
The only question I had was,
It's twofold as a trend going around this area of Pennsylvania. It gives the police department the ability to, if there's a need for a road closure, for us to go pick up barricades or actually have barricades on the vehicle. Also allows us to carry additional equipment to include picking up bicycles, other property. About 2 or 3 months ago, I had to use my SUV, which was fine, to pick up a safe because it would not fit one of our other police vehicles.
So it serves multiple purposes, and it also allows us not to have to call somebody from the road crew every time we need one of those items transported. So we can carry additional equipment in it, and additionally, to not have to call the road crew out at 2 o'clock in the morning to pick up a bicycle that we don't have to put in our SUVs.
Thank you, Chief. Any further questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. I need a motion to approve the minimum municipal obligation of $410,858 for the non-uniform pension.
So moved. Second.
Any questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. A motion to approve the minimum municipal obligation of $748,696 for the uniform pension.
Second.
Questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. I need a motion to authorize the township manager to execute an agreement with First Fire and Water Restoration to repair water damage with the township. So moved. Second. Any questions or comments?
Yes.
Any further questions or comments? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Those if any, the ayes have it, so ordered. Any other new business? No board appointments for the night. Anyone who wishes to speak under the second public portion? Seeing none, we'll open up the staff comments. Chief, let's start.
I'll make it brief. I touched on last month, July, obviously, our total amount of calls, that is July and we had 240 calls for service in the month of July. Normal month for us was about 110 to 120, so over double. Other than that, that's
Thank you, Chief. Mr. Donovan.
Yeah, unfortunately, let's talk about grass. Perfect conditions out there for it to grow. Please remember, if you own property in Muhlenberg Township, to groom your yard, residential and commercial. We seem to have the same violators every week or every couple of weeks. It seemed to use the codes department of my officers as a reminder service, whether you get a notice or a ticket. So please remember, if you own property in Muhlenberg Township, whether it's a rental, commercial, residential, to groom your property. Thank you.
Why aren't they cited?
They are.
They are.
Yes, they are.
Because I've been told that people that blow their grass into the street get cited in other areas. People don't, but they're the ones like, you have to keep going out, they should be cited. So.
Yeah, they are cited. And as far as the grass going into this, being blown into the street, when you show up for a municipal date or a court date, that grass has been removed or time frame has passed. So they bring that to the court to say that, hey, this grass is no longer here. So we're not that much of a citable offense for us, but the high grass is, and we can make that. So yeah, they're paying the quality of life ticket.
Thank you. Joseph.
The new edition of the Township Magazine has been mailed, so you should have received it already or going to any day. And also we had a complete website redesign, so check it out. Everything that was there is still there, just a little more improved efficiency and just better look.
On popular demand, we are working along with the railroad right now to replace the tracks and the blacktop at their lovely Tuckerton Road that everybody has driven over. Hopefully we'll be done by Friday morning, Friday early afternoon at the latest. We're doing everything we can to get it done. So should be smooth by Riverfest.
Just a reminder that the trash bills are due at the end of this month, so you have 10 days yet to pay it. You can pay it online, bring it in, put it in the mail.
Thank you.
I actually have a few things. I want to remind everybody that school's going to be opening soon. So watch for the bus stops. Some of them may have changed from last year, so you're accustomed to. Also, there's going to be a lot of kids walking around. So just keep that in mind. For National Night Out, my opinion was a great success. So I want to thank the commissioners that participated. And actually everybody in the community that came out to enjoy that day with us. The credit for National Night Out, really needs to go to Sergeant Sawyer. That is a huge undertaking for coordinating just not just the event itself, but the food and everything else that goes on there. So looking forward to Riverfest. We just recently received, I believe it was on Monday, all of our in-car and body-worn camera systems. So as soon as we can get policy locked down and the training to implement those, they'll be out in the field. I wanted to mention codes. We talk about this frequently, but the support that the police department has gotten from the codes department handling a lot of our homeless people has been outstanding. We're also hiring. The application deadline is the 14th of September. If you know somebody that has good ethical, moral, and good character, for over 21, who's asking to apply. And the SRO program starts Wednesday. So thank you for your support on that.
Thank you. Karen, you doing anything this week?
Really lacking for something. Kelly Gorski is our new recreation program supervisor, and she'll be starting on Wednesday for this week. So we'll welcome her aboard with Riverfest. So Riverfest is, of course, this Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at Dimitri Park. I want to thank those volunteers that have stepped to the plate to help us man the various areas that we have. And of course, you know, we're on to Temple Halloween Parade. Those applications are due by mid-September. Those any groups that want to participate. And Haunted Hollow is October 13, 14, and 15. It is not Columbus Day weekend this year, but it is the weekend that follows it. So Temple Halloween Parade is always the first Saturday, and that is actually Columbus Day weekend. So it's a little flip-flop this year, but it has happened one other time, so we do get through it, and the events still go on. So come on out Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, listen to some music, enjoy some good food and beverage along the river.
Thank you. Go ahead.
The planning commission meeting last week was canceled. We did not have any agenda items that needed to be discussed. So if you showed up, I apologize. We did advertise on the web and posted on the door. What we should have a September meeting. We will have some agenda items. Also, Jeremy, could have mentioned, along with the Tuckerton Road Railroad repairs, the Water Street washout from the railroad was also taken care of in the last 2 weeks. So hopefully that resolves us of future flooding issues on Water Street.
Thank you. Commissioner, you first.
All right, it was a marathon session last month, and everybody was here. Thank you for coming back. And we said we would try to do what we could. We've done as much as we can to this point. We wait to get some more reporting and some more funding, permitting. You know, it was said a couple of times tonight, if we had a magic wand, you know, we'd wave it and fix the flooding issues. We don't have that. It will take time. It's going to take money, and it's not going to get fixed overnight. And there's no guarantee that anything that we do is going to stop a storm like we had from flooding again in spots. But we are trying to do our very best. You know, we understand the issues, and we heard you. We came out, we talked to a number of residents. We haven't been able to talk to everybody, but we've talked to as many as we can. You know, we're going to keep at it, and it will be a long-term process. And I don't know who will be sitting here next year, but those efforts I'm sure will continue because it's just something that this board needs to address and needs to stay focused on, as much as the other issues. So, you know, take a little respite and come out to Riverfest. Everybody can use a little breather, I think, and as we move in from summer to fall. So thank you all for coming.
Thank you.
Just one comment. It seemed like a theme tonight was quality of life, and she communicated quite a few things that I think improve the quality of life of Muhlenberg Township. one of the things that I noticed in this monthly report, and it's been brought up several times here in the township, is that we have done 450 traffic stops in the month of July. And out of that 450 traffic stops, there were 583 citations given. So again, you know, it's a step of trying to modify people's behaviors so that they realize we're concerned about the safety of our residents and the people that visit our township. And the police department's doing their part. And that's the proactive piece. The reactive piece is they had over 2,100 service calls. So those are calls that come from the 911 center, #1 priority. So we can't be out there doing traffic stops when a priority call comes in from the 911 center. So I had to get involved against the police department and the sergeants doing those number of traffic stops. Second, in the month of July, we were able to remove 16 abandoned vehicles off various properties in the township. That's another quality of life issue that, at least in this case, the police department has been able to process those and get them removed off the properties. So thank you, Chief, again, to you and the sergeants, entire team for improving the quality of life.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Wolfing.
Commissioner, just so my fund, very, very good report. I love reading the different things that teams are doing. I enjoy everybody. Keep up with it. And Chief, I couldn't believe the number of volunteers you had out last month. I mean, it was amazing. And please give them the board's congratulations. I'd like to see everybody come out to River Fest, but think about leaving your dog at home. Now, your dog really doesn't like all this music. Some people are afraid of dogs. We've had dogs bite kids, dogs bite other dogs. You know, leave the dog at home. And, you know, if you want to bring the dog to Jim Beekford Park, do it some other day. There's we're going to have 20-some thousand people there in Jim Beekford Park. We don't need 20,000 dogs.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Devon.
I just like to mention in the area of Wilford Hills, last week we had an issue with, I believe kids going through the cars. We had a lot of neighbors upset about it. And even though the chief and the police department presence is more active in that area, I've seen it. Thank you for that. I think we do have a due diligence to protect our property. So keeping our properties closed, those cars that are parked outside, make sure that they're closed, that you don't keep property in there that will discourage some of those acts. That will be what I wanted to say today. And I'll see you all this weekend.
Thank you, Commissioner. My last real quick comments, and I think especially about the police department. Thanks to all the staff, the other commissioners, and the countless hours of everything water that we've been trying to do to combat this situation in the future. It's hard to explain how empathetic we are, and we appreciate the residents too. Provided feedback. We're out there, 90% of them were there and understand the situation, and the countless amount of hours that our public works department has spent, not just doing that and cleaning up that and paving roads and doing other things to maintain our community. So it's a tremendous effort that continues. We wish we could fix it, as Commissioner Miller said, but as we mentioned last time, we're doing everything we possibly can within our authority to ensure that we can, ease the pain when we have this event, because when they call for a thunderstorm, believe me, we're all on the edge of our seat calling Jim Bobeck and Jeremy Garlow. Are we ready? What are we going to do? Because we feel for you, because you're not the only side of the, certain people think it's just their area. They have it all over the township. So we'll continue to do what we can to fix it. And one last point, we'll advertise next week to put it on your calendar. I think one of our most important meetings, October 21st, is our budget workshop. We start at 8 a.m. in this building. It's pretty much where your taxpayers are allocated, your tax money is allocated towards. And we continue, I think, to do a pretty good job with a pretty minimal amount of people, and we'll continue to do that. Also, just to the Chief's point about officer openings, we're also going to be posting for a mechanic job. At one point in time, this township had 4. Jeremy's getting it done with 1. I think right now keeping costs under check, so it's time to get mental help also. So, you know, any good diesel mechanics, I think, let them, look for the posting. So everybody have a good evening and we'll see you all this weekend.